everyone. Welcome to this episode of News, Views, and To-Dos. I am Taryn Elliott, the Director of Client Success and Marketing at LISI, and I will be your host today. And on the other side of the microphone, which is a different place for her, is Robyn Addis, who we all know as the COO and CMBDO of LISI. But today she's actually on Newsies and To-Dos to talk about her passion project, Follow Friday. So welcome, Robyn. Thank you for being on.
Thanks, Taryn. Thanks for having me. It is weird to be on the other side of the mic. I'm not gonna lie.
Yes, it's a little bit different when you're the one being interviewed. So
yeah.
Well, I wanted to start. We're talking about Follow Friday. So why don't you give us a little bit of background of Follow Friday?
Sure. So in October of 2020, it's the midst of the pandemic. My kids were virtual at, from school or too young to go to school, which that was fun. And I was looking for a way to connect with people. I was kind of lonely. I was looking for a way to connect and network. And my good friend, Dawn Scheiker, who's the director of client relations at Morris James LLP in Delaware, she had been doing a Let's Connect series on LinkedIn. Here's this person, you should get to know them, learn about them. And she actually featured me as one of those people, which was kind of fun. And I had fun being featured. And I also loved seeing what she was doing. I think one day I just reached out to her and I was like, I'm going to pick the ball up and run with this, if you don't mind. She was like, have at it. And so I started by featuring a friend of mine, Avi Lauren Fox, who is a photographer and small business owner here in Narberth, Pennsylvania, where I live, good friend of mine. And I just posted on a Friday under the hashtag Follow Friday about Avi, why people should know her, what she does, and what makes her kind of awesome. And it snowballed. I really didn't do it with any sort of intention, like I'm going to do this 100 times or anything like that. But it snowballed. It picked up steam. It was really fun. It was really fulfilling. And about 20 or so women in, because I was specifically focusing on professional women, I realized I was only featuring my friends, which was, it was fun. And I was kind of blown away by how many incredible, amazing women I do know. But then I started to seek nominations from people. And that's really where it really picked up steam, because people would nominate somebody that they knew. I got on a couple introductory phone calls or Zoom calls with people, and they were like, I have no idea what this is. And I texted so-and-so and they said it's legit. So can you tell me what I'm here for? which was really fun. But I really just treated all of those introductory conversations like I was meeting somebody at a cocktail reception, and getting to know them. And it's just been so awesome. So as of today, I have featured 77 people, 75 women and 2 men who are very strong allies and supporters of professional women. 77 people. Yep. Wow. And I'm on my way to 100 features, and then we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I really like, I know I personally look forward to kind of Fridays and seeing like who's she going to feature this week, and like, what are we going to learn about them? Do they work in my industry? Do they work in a different industry? How can, I incorporate that? Always fun to see somebody I know featured as well, especially because you and I know a lot of the same people.
Right.
I don't necessarily know them in the same ways. So that's always been really exciting for me. And I know a lot of people feel that way too, that it's a community building thing and a way to get to know people that you either don't know well, or you learn something new about them, or you've never met, but possibly a connection can be made personally or professionally.
Yeah.
Well, on that note, on Follow Friday, let's get to the news part of our News, Views, and To-Dos. So what news would you like to share about Follow Friday?
Yeah. So this all sort of culminated, I said a minute ago, I didn't start out to, do anything necessarily with it. And somewhere along the process, I was trying to figure out really what it was all about and what my real motivation for doing this was. So I sat and I thought long and hard about it over a period of weeks. Honestly, I was going to say one night. That's a lie. Over a period of weeks, I sat and I was thinking about it. And, upon reflection, I think about the fact that the 5 years leading up to the COVID-19 pandemic were some of the most difficult years of my entire life. In 2015, I had a miscarriage at 18 weeks, and a daughter that my husband and I very desperately wanted was never going to be with us. In 2017, my father passed away, not suddenly, but certainly too soon. And then in 2019, I was pregnant then with my third child, this time a daughter. I at this point had two sons, was finally pregnant with a daughter again. And I was in such a toxic and stressful environment at work that I was feeling like I was in the middle of deja vu all over again. And I genuinely hit rock bottom in my career. I was about 18, 19 weeks pregnant again. And I was so stressed out and had so much anxiety from the situation I was in that my doctor took me out on medical leave. And during that time on medical leave, I was desperate to find anything else. I was really desperate to try and find another way, another something to do. And I was sort of consumed by my own self-limiting beliefs. I didn't think I was going to be able to find a job with the title that I had. I didn't think I was going to be able to make the same money I was making. I didn't think I was going to be able to live the life that I had become accustomed to. And so I sort of had trapped myself in this self-limiting situation. But then again, it was butting up against the stress and the anxiety that I was feeling.
Mhm.
So, through the end of my pregnancy, I actually got to chatting with Jason LISI, our CEO and fearless leader. And he had an opportunity for actually a genuinely entry level position here at LISI. And I said, let me see what I can do with that. I don't care. Like, I don't care if you pay me $2 a year. I just need to find something else. And so he and I got to talking during my maternity leave. And it really just blossomed into this exciting opportunity to become COO and CMBDO here at LISI, which is, as I'm sure anybody who's seen any content that I put on LinkedIn knows, it is my dream job. I love what I do. I love our team.
Mhm.
I am so fulfilled and happy with what I do. So then I think about connecting that with Follow Friday. And I think about the fact that here I am trying to shine a light on women in particular, like I said, mostly women, sometimes an occasional awesome man. Um, and I think about the fact that I tell this story, the story I just told you, I tell that time and time again. And almost every time I tell it, the woman or women I'm telling it to, they say, yeah, that feels like my situation. I feel trapped by this. I feel controlled by that. My situation is toxic. Whatever I'm dealing with, I really resonate with that story. So then I really came to think about the community aspect, as you said, the community aspect of Follow Friday. And I have a little bit of a background in event planning from once upon a time in my career. And I thought, well, I'm not going to write a book because that's not in me and I don't have the time. And, I don't know that I'm going to be some like traveling motivational speaker, but I can create an opportunity for women to come together and to build a new or expand their communities so that they feel less alone, so that they feel like they are supported and are part of an environment where they don't have to get to the place where I got in my career.
Mhm.
They don't have to feel like they're hitting rock bottom. They understand that there are opportunities that they can create for themselves. And that's a really important piece of this too, because, it is about networking and forming connections and everything, but it's not about somebody giving anybody a handout. I want the women who attend my conference to feel like, I shouldn't say women, it is for all people. It's mostly going to be women.
Yes.
But I want the people, the attendees of my conference, to feel like they can stop waiting for something to happen for them, to stop waiting for somebody to give them an opportunity, and they feel inspired and empowered to go out and seek an opportunity for themselves.
And I really love that the point of the conference is to help women and men, whoever attends, like kind of not learn from my mistakes, but learn from my experiences so you don't have to go to that place. Because I agree, I think I've heard similar stories from different people too. Like, I didn't think I could do this. I took this huge, scary leap.
Yeah.
I didn't know what was going to happen on the other side, that whole thing. Whereas it's nice that people don't have to be crying in their showers, which was
Yeah.
my experience. Like
Yeah.
I was crying in my shower one day and I was like, I can't do this anymore. This is not working for me.
Right.
But I don't know what's on the other side. And I don't know if that'll work out. And if this conference can help, even one person kind of like start putting together everything so they can say, okay, I see the warning signs. I'm going to make a change now and like do what I need to do. Then that is, huge because
Right.
it takes, I think, some age and some wisdom and some experience and some vulnerability to get to the point where you're like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
I can do this or I did this. But, you don't necessarily have that at any age or place in your career, especially depending on what your experiences have been to that point.
Right. And I want to share, part of the way that I hope to achieve this. I don't want anybody listening to this explanation to think that the conference is going to be some grape circle or, kumbaya, kind of situation. I mean, it can be if that's what you want out of it. But really, I've attended a lot of conferences in my 20 plus year career. And I am endeavoring to bring content that is very fulfilling for people at whatever place they are in their professional journey. So the theme of the conference is gaining entry, and gaining entry is a hat tip, a nod to my mentor and very good friend, Kelly Breslin, who has started this initiative, I'll call it, because it's still taking shape a little bit, but around the concept of gaining entry, and that there are these things that happen to and around or near us in our lives that can make it challenging for people to achieve success in their career. And so where gaining entry and sort of Follow Friday match up is I want people to feel empowered to seize opportunities for themselves, and gaining entry is really endeavoring to help people understand that, they can overcome, learn from, use whatever the right verb is, for
Mhm.
that each person, those experiences, again, to gain entry into that next place in their career. So in terms of the content of the conference, we have some TED Talk style presentations. Kelly actually herself is giving one of the keynote presentations. I
Nice.
can't announce it yet, but I have a pretty awesome local media personality who's going to do the lunchtime presentation, local Philadelphia person. I have a really inspiring lawyer and her client who is going to do the closing fireside chat. And we're going to have exciting improv sessions and leadership summits. It's really, I'm very ambitious, as you know, Taryn.
I'm
And
well aware.
right. And I'm really endeavoring to create this like immersive retreat where people can go and get the thing out of the day that they need. Not
Mhm.
everybody's going to need everything that's available at the conference, but I want there to be something for everybody who attends.
Well, and it sounds like a really unique agenda that brings in, the personal and the professional and the personal development and the professional development. And, you can kind of pick and choose. And it's not just this is how, to be on, chief track, or
Right.
this is how to be the best version of yourself and, your whole life, or how to be the best, mom or wife or the best at your job. Like it's really an intersection of all of those things.
Right.
So that way, you're going out into the world however you need to,
Exactly.
or
You
however
hit
you
the nail on the
desire.
head. Yep.
Yeah. Well, normally our next question is about views. And so I've tweaked the question just a little bit, but how do you see this conference impacting the legal industry?
Yeah, it's a really interesting question because I'm sure you can imagine I'm not specifically targeting the legal industry.
Yeah.
Of course, and almost my entire career, the majority of my network is from legal. So that's where I expect at least 50% of the attendees and sponsors and everything to come from. But in terms of its impact on the legal industry, I know that there are many firms who are working to pave the way for women in law. But the mommy track issue is still a big issue.
Mhm.
The idea that if a woman is seeking partnership at her firm for example, that if she goes off to take a maternity leave, does she feel the pressure, or really a parent, to be clear, a parent
Mhm.
that goes to take a paternal leave, or a family leave, and do they feel the pressure to come back early, to not really put themselves fully in that situation with their new child or the new family member. And again, especially as that relates to women, and the mommy track. But also, I think that for the legal industry and really professional businesses across the board, there's a lot of content out there. There's a lot of buzz about focusing on women and women's issues. And I think a lot of that content is great. I'm not going to sit here and put any of that down. I think, and there's a need for it,
Mhm.
right? And there's a hunger for it. What I think is impactful, that Follow Friday has the potential for, and the impact that it has the potential for, is to really, again, embolden our community to be comfortable talking about, pay equity, to be comfortable talking about toxic work environments, to be comfortable understanding how to network with and develop a multi-generational network. Like, these are the types of issues that I really am passionate about. Kelly and I talk about them actually all the time. So I think the impact there is just to have a genuine conversation that I hope the attendees take back to their firms, that attendees from, legal industry, sort of trusted service providers, they take back to their companies, and they infuse that into the conversations they're having with their clients. I hope it just has, honestly, the impact is a trickle down effect. Really, I think
Mhm.
that's the best I can hope for. And I'll say one thing, actually, interestingly. So one of my very best friends, Jennifer Fair, she's a trial attorney with the Department of Justice, and she's actually on my planning committee. And early on, she said something about, how do we make systemic change? I don't know that Follow Friday is in a place today to be in a position to incite systemic change. But gosh, wouldn't it be pretty awesome if someday this really grows into something that is an advocacy organization for women in the legal profession, or women in professions in general? I mean, again, stars, maybe eyes too big for my, stomach, as they sort of say. But I just think that there could be so much positive impact made from it. You know what I mean?
Well, and what I really loved about what you said is that, yes, there's been a very heavy focus on women or issues related to women, especially in the workplace, but also balancing your life as a woman and all of those responsibilities with, your life as a professional. But what you talked about and how it can impact the legal industry or any professional industry was kind of above and beyond that. And it's not just impacting, say, 50% of the people who work there, but
Right.
it's positively impacting all of your employees, wherever they might be. Like, the things you mentioned aren't, things that only impact women.
Yeah.
And, I don't think systemic change happens overnight. I
Right.
think it's the bits and pieces that you pick up along the way, and the things that you share with your colleagues and your peers, and the discussions that you have, and that you slowly get to a point where people's attitudes maybe have evolved, or people's thoughts on what can and can't work has changed. And I really do think, 10 years ago, this would have 100% been a conversation about women. But
Mhm.
now we're definitely changing the conversation to be about parents, and not just parents, even parents of any gender, but also caregivers, because in the last decade, 25 years, even 50 years, like, it's been a slow evolution of not just an issue that women have, but men who are
Right.
staying home, or men who want to have that balance, or men who are supporting their wives' careers and willing to take, a back seat, or just, that didn't happen overnight, but that's, definitely happened. And so I think coming out of the conference, the issues that will be talked about and addressed, and the conversations people will have. Well, what are you doing? What's your firm doing? How has that impacted you? That, that's a good idea. I should take that back. Like, that will get us to the place where it is, more of a systemic change, and things, I think you will look back at a certain point and be like, oh, this is the influence that we've had over this time.
Yeah, I mean, that would be fantastic. And I think you're right. It's not we can't set forth with, maybe I'll actually take that back. We could set forth with a goal of systemic change and some specific change for sure. That's not where I'm at today. But I think that the change that we're talking about, to your point, is going to just have to evolve organically.
Mhm.
But I do want to go back to something because it's interesting. You and I are both parents. And so I think and I did certainly talk about like the mommy track and things like that. But I do think, and I know because I'm trying to be very conscious of this, there is room for people of all different sort of life paths. So
Yes.
parents, that's one life path. The single professionals, whatever whatever in between, whatever sort of situation you're in. I am specifically and intentionally not focusing just on, for example, parents. I do think that's a big issue, but also, what are the issues for single women in professions that I think sometimes might be overlooked or not considered because we're already so focused on talking about
Mhm.
women as parents. And I know that like I'm really trying to pull in a lot here, but I don't think that we generally speaking, not just for Follow Friday, I think the most important thing we need to do is keep our sights broad and not focus on a specific subsection or demographic, because we don't want to lose sight of the fact that all these issues impact all of us, and the more we do on one side, we can advance an impact on the other side as well. Does that make
Mhm.
sense?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of the concept of, I always say that I say this about specifically when people get into like the debate between, stay-at-home moms versus working moms, but the concept applies broadly. Like
Hmm.
we didn't my feeling is we didn't fight for the right for women to work. We fought for the right for everyone to have a choice and for
Yep.
everyone to choose the path that is right for them.
Yep.
And that means professionally what you want to do. That means, in your personal life, exactly what you said, whether you get married, whether you have kids, whether, you're helping with ailing parents, whether you have a career, but you also have, a passion project on the side that is a commitment, whether it's all those things. I think this project, the goals of this conference, the goals of any of these conversations that we have isn't necessarily about fighting for one subset of people.
Right.
It's about opening it up so that way, whatever your path in life is, whatever your goals are, whatever works for you, makes you the best version of yourself, you can find a track and a way to do that. And that's not to say that you can't, that there aren't sacrifices and give and take
Hmm.
along the way, because there definitely is. But, it's not one or the other and everyone has to do that. It's about meeting people where they are and where they need to be.
Yeah, that's
Because life
exactly
is
right.
not a smooth path. There's ups and
Exactly.
there's downs, and sometimes you need something different than you needed, last week, last year, last decade. And, it'll be different again tomorrow, a week from now, a year from now,
Yep.
hopefully.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. That's exactly right.
Well, on that note, the last part is always the to-dos. And I know you always come through on this one. So what advice do you have to share? I know we've talked about a lot of things and you bring a wealth of, I'll say personal experience, but I mean like life experience, professional experience, your personal life. You bring a wealth of experience to all of this too. So what advice do you have for everyone?
First, I just have to say you always come through on this one, which is a nice way of saying you've got a lot of opinions.
No, that's not what I mean at
I
all.
know.
I mean, you've done a lot of things and you've
Yeah.
had a lot of different experiences. And I think it's really important that we share our
Mhm.
experiences and what we've learned, what we talked about earlier. So that way, even if it's one person that says, I was listening to this thing the other day, and
Yep.
this person said, and it really resonated with me because, and whether it's, just like a thought that they keep noodling on, or whether it's like the one thing that like triggered like a change they needed in their life.
Mhm.
So I know, not that you have a lot of opinions, although
I
you
mean, I
do,
do.
but
Let's be honest.
that you have a lot of experience, and more importantly, you are willing to share that with people, even if, it means that sometimes that can be a really vulnerable place. So that is 100% what I meant. I know that you always have valuable things to share that you are willing to share with people.
I know. I don't know if you can hear it. My dog's going nuts outside, by the way, just really quickly before I dive in. But so sorry about that if you can.
That's okay. My dog ran through earlier. I'm sure you could hear his collar. And I was like,
whatever. It's
He's
again,
work from home.
I'm always myself. So that is what's happening in my life right now. Yeah, I mean, really on this topic specifically, you're right. I mean, well, as I said, and then you did agree with, I do have a lot of opinions. But on this topic in particular, really, I go back to that message, that I go back to the takeaway that I want people to get from the conference if they are able to attend, is I want people to stop waiting for something to happen to or for them, and I want them to create something for themselves. I mean, look at Follow Friday, look at my presence on LinkedIn, look at so many of the things that I do now. I was tired of waiting for somebody, because of my past experience. I was tired of waiting for somebody's good graces to give me a chance. And, that's what I was relying on and I held my success on. My success is my own. As you said, it's not easy. It's not without challenge. It's not without, hurdles to overcome. I'm not trying to say, if you want to do it, you can do it. It's not always that simple. I'm not trying to pretend that it is. But what I want you to do is stop thinking that it's in anybody else's control, that you are smart and you're strong and you're powerful and you're capable of doing the hard thing. And the hardest part is taking the first step. Again, take it from somebody who genuinely hit rock bottom. And that first step had me, really, really shaking in my boots every single day. And ever since I finally did take that first step, I mean, I feel like the world's my oyster and there's no stopping me. So go out and do it. That's, I guess, just do it. That's my advice.
Well, and I do really love that, because I think a lot of people kind of get stuck in that waiting for a promotion, or, waiting for the perfect job to like show up on the job boards or whatever it is. And, we have more power to design our lives and to write our own stories than we think we do.
Right.
And sometimes you probably are starting at the end, and what can you do to get there today? And I know we've talked about this. You're like, I have like the next 10 points planned out.
Yeah.
But sometimes you just need to get to the next point,
right,
and figure that out. Or what the 10th point is, so how can you incrementally get there? But you're not going to get there unless you try. Like, you're not going to finish the race if you don't go to the starting line.
Yes, that's exactly right.
I think sometimes people just need a little kick in the pants to be like, oh yeah, my boss might never promote me, so I'm going to figure out, how to do this.
Yeah.
It's my responsibility.
Yeah, exactly. I think or my boss is promoting me to make me feel beholden to them. And so therefore I owe them something. There's two sides. There's many sides to that potentially,
Yes, which isn't fair to say. Like, I didn't, and I know we both don't mean to imply that, there's something nefarious happening around promotions. But
yeah, that's just like the conceit for the
But also, it could be a situation where you're like, okay, my boss is 25 years from retirement or 10 years from retirement, and my only path up is their job.
Yeah.
So that's not going to work, because, for my career, I want to do, X, Y, Z. So then, how do you create a path? So there are a lot of wonderful bosses out there.
Yes,
I'm sure want to promote their employees. There's just no middle ground between where the employee is and where the boss is.
Yeah.
So short, in that situation, those bosses are generally the people who say, I'm happy to have you and your contributions for the time that we have you. Mm-hmm. And I am happy to see you go fly and soar somewhere else. So
yeah, I agree.
Didn't want people to think that I was bashing bosses.
I know. Nobody thinks that. Don't worry. I mean, if anybody was, I was, but that's okay.
Just saying there's good ones out there too.
Yeah, there are.
Just because you're not promoted doesn't mean they hate you.
Yeah. Fair.
Well, it's been a pleasure talking about Follow Friday. I know everyone on Team LISI is really excited about this. We're really excited for you because we know how much this has meant to you. I think most of our team's been along for the entire evolution of Follow Friday.
Yeah.
So to see all of this coming to fruition, our team's really excited about it. I'm excited to be there, excited to be a part of it.
Yeah,
so
thanks.
Congratulations.
Thanks. I appreciate it.
Thank you to everyone who tuned in either on our live stream or are catching this on our website or are listening to this on our podcast because we are multi-platform now. But thank you for tuning into this episode of News, Views, and To-Dos. Check back next Friday where we will have a new episode of one of our platforms on our All the Things podcast. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.